The Oakwood Public Library was unusually crowded for a Saturday afternoon. Families clustered around reading tables, children's laughter echoed from the picture book section. The hum of weekend life filled every corner. Except for one small girl standing alone near the reference desk. She was maybe 7 years old, brown hair pulled into a messy ponytail, wearing a faded pink jacket that was slightly too small. Her hands twisted together nervously as she scanned the room with wide, uncertain eyes. Nobody noticed her. Parents were absorbed in their phones, librarians were shelving books, children ran past without seeing. She was a ghost in plain sight, invisible. Until her eyes landed on a man sitting cross-legged on the floor in the children's section. Marcus Hayes, 35, wore jeans and a yellow work jacket. His hands, calloused from years of carpentry, held a picture book open. Beside him sat a little girl with curly brown hair, maybe 5 years old, leaning against his shoulder. The small girl watched them for a long moment. Father and daughter, reading together, safe, calm, present. She took 3 tentative steps forward, then stopped, looked back toward the library entrance where raised voices filtered through the glass doors. A woman's voice, sharp and angry, a man's voice, defensive. The girl's shoulders hunched. She looked small, scared. She turned back to Marcus, took another step, then another, until she was standing directly in front of him, hands still twisted together, eyes fixed on the floor. Marcus looked up, saw her, really saw her. "Can I?" Her voice was so quiet it almost disappeared. "Can I sit here for a minute?" Marcus's expression softened immediately. He didn't ask why, didn't question, didn't hesitate. "Of course you can, sweetheart," he said gently. "There's plenty of room." The girl sat down slowly, not too close, just near enough to feel the safety of their presence. She pulled her knees to her chest and wrapped her arms around them. Marcus's daughter looked at the girl with curiosity, then at her father. He nodded slightly. The little girl reached into her backpack and pulled out a small stuffed rabbit. She held it out, offering, "This is Mr. Whiskers. He helps when I'm scared." The girl's eyes filled with tears. She took the rabbit carefully, as if it were made of glass. Across the library, near a study table by the window, a woman in a gray suit jacket watched. Her laptop was open, but the screen had gone dark. She'd stopped working 10 minutes ago. Diane Foster, 43 years old, CEO of a $4 billion tech company, sat alone, as always. And for reasons she couldn't quite name, she couldn't look away from the man on the floor and the 2 little girls who'd just become a temporary constellation of safety in a chaotic world. Something in her chest tightened. Subscribe to Becca's Stories for powerful narratives of transformation and human resilience. Marcus turned the page of the book slowly. He didn't ask the girl her name, didn't push, just created space. His daughter, Ruby, scooted closer to the new girl. "Do you like stories?" she asked softly. The girl nodded. "My daddy reads the best voices," Ruby said with shy pride. "He makes the dragon sound really scary." Despite everything, the girl smiled. Just a little, but it was there. Marcus began reading, not just for Ruby now, but for this small stranger who'd asked for a minute of safety. His voice was warm, patient. He did voices for each character, making Ruby giggle and drawing tentative smiles from the girl. Diane watched from her table. She'd been coming to this library for 3 months now, every Saturday, telling herself it was because she needed quiet space to work away from the office. But really, she came because her penthouse apartment felt like a tomb, silent, empty, cold. She watched the man with his daughter, watched how he read with complete presence, no phone in his hand, no distraction in his eyes, just there, fully there. When had someone last been fully present with her? When had she last been fully present with anyone? The girl with the messy ponytail relaxed incrementally. Her shoulders lowered. Her grip on Mr. Whiskers loosened. She leaned slightly closer to Ruby, who smiled and showed her the pictures in the book. "That's the princess," Ruby explained. "She's brave. She saves herself." "I like that," the girl whispered, her first real words. "I like brave princesses." Marcus closed the first book. "Want to hear another one?" he asked gently. Both girls nodded. As he reached for a second book, he glanced at the girl. "You doing okay? Need anything? Water? Bathroom?" She shook her head. "I'm okay, just—" She looked toward the library entrance again. The voices outside had gotten louder. "Can I just stay here a little longer?" "You can stay as long as you need," Marcus said simply. "No rush." Something broke in Diane. She didn't understand why, didn't understand this sudden tightness in her throat. This man wasn't doing anything extraordinary, he was just being kind. But when had kindness become extraordinary? When had simple human decency become rare enough to notice? Marcus read the second book, then a third. The girl's eyelids grew heavy. She leaned against the bookshelf beside her, still clutching Mr. Whiskers, and for the first time that afternoon, she looked peaceful. Ruby whispered to her father, "Daddy, she's like me, when Mommy first went to heaven. Remember? I used to hide in corners." Marcus's expression flickered. Pain, memory, love. "I remember, baby," whispered Marcus back. "That's why we're staying, because somebody stayed for you." Diane's hands clenched on her laptop. She remembered now, remembered a small news story from 18 months ago, a car accident on Route 9, young mother killed, husband and daughter surviving. She hadn't paid attention then, it was just another tragedy, another headline. But this was the man, this was the daughter. And they'd survived by learning to see people others missed. 20 minutes passed. The girls started to talk. Small things, quiet things. "My name is Emma," she said softly. "Emma," Marcus repeated. "That's a beautiful name." "I'm Marcus. This is Ruby." "Hi, Emma," Ruby said, smiling. Emma smiled back. "Your daddy's nice." "The nicest," Ruby agreed. "He builds things, tree houses and porches and stuff, and he makes really good grilled cheese." "I like grilled cheese," Emma said wistfully. Marcus reached into his backpack, pulled out a Ziploc bag of graham crackers. "Not grilled cheese, but close enough. Want some?" Emma nodded, took a cracker carefully, ate it slowly, like it was the first thing she'd eaten all day. Diane felt sick. Where were this child's parents? Why was she alone? She looked around the library. Families everywhere, and not one person had noticed the small girl standing alone, afraid, invisible. Except Marcus. Emma finished her cracker. Then, very quietly, she said, "My mommy and daddy are fighting. Again. Outside. They always fight. I don't like it. It's loud." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry, Emma. That must be really hard." "It is," Emma whispered. "Sometimes I wish I could disappear, really disappear, so I don't have to hear it anymore." Ruby reached over and took Emma's hand. "You don't have to disappear. You can just sit with us, right, Daddy?" "Right," Marcus said firmly. "You're not invisible, Emma. We see you, and you're safe here." Emma started crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears sliding down her cheeks. "Nobody ever sees me," she said. "Everybody's always too busy. Mommy's on the phone, Daddy's angry, the teachers are tired. Nobody looks." "I'm looking," Marcus said gently, "and I see a very brave girl who knew exactly where to go when she needed help. That's smart, Emma. You're smart." Emma cried harder, and Marcus, without hesitation, opened his arms. Emma crawled forward and buried her face in his shoulder. He held her carefully, the way you'd hold something fragile and precious. Ruby patted Emma's back. "It's okay to cry," she said wisely. "Daddy says crying means you're brave enough to feel things." Across the library, Diane stood abruptly. She couldn't watch anymore, couldn't sit here drowning in her own emptiness while this was happening. She walked toward the restroom, locked herself in a stall, and for the first time in 8 years, she let herself cry. When she returned, Marcus and the girls were drawing. Emma had stopped crying. She was using crayons from Ruby's backpack, carefully coloring a picture. Diane sat down, opened her laptop, tried to work. Couldn't. She kept watching Marcus listen, watching Ruby share, watching Emma slowly, incrementally come back to life. Emma held up her drawing. "Look," she said quietly, "it's us." Marcus smiled. "That's beautiful, Emma. Tell me about it." "This is you," she said, pointing to a tall figure. "And this is Ruby, and this is me, and we're in the library, and we're happy, because we're listening. Families listen." "Families listen," Marcus repeated softly. "You're absolutely right." "My family doesn't listen. They just yell. But maybe if I show them this picture, they'll remember. They'll remember listening." Ruby hugged Emma. "It's a really good picture." Diane's throat closed. At 4:47, the library doors burst open. A woman in her 30s stormed in, her face flushed with anger. She scanned the room frantically, then locked onto Emma. "Emma!" she shouted. "Where have you been? Do you have any idea how worried I was?" Emma's entire body went rigid. She dropped the crayon, grabbed Mr. Whiskers tightly. The woman, Emma's mother, marched toward them. Marcus stood slowly, positioning himself between the woman and Emma. Not aggressive, just present. "She's been here," Marcus said calmly. "She's safe. She was reading with us." The woman's eyes narrowed. "And who the hell are you? Why is my daughter with a stranger?" "She asked if she could sit with us," Marcus said evenly. "She seemed scared. I didn't think it was right to send her away." "You didn't think—" The woman's voice rose. "You're a grown man alone with children. Do you realize how that looks? I should call the police. This is stranger danger." People were staring now, phones coming out, murmurs spreading. Ruby grabbed her father's hand, frightened. Emma was crying again, silent tears. Marcus kept his voice steady. "Ma'am, I understand you're upset, but your daughter was outside alone while you were arguing with someone. She came inside looking for a safe place. That's all that happened. She read books, she drew pictures. She's okay." "Don't tell me about my daughter," the woman snapped. "You don't know anything." "I know she was scared. I know she needed help. I know nobody else stopped." And that's when Diane stood up. She didn't plan it, didn't think. She just couldn't watch this man be vilified for doing the right thing. She walked across the library, her heels clicking on the tile floor. Every eye turned to her. The woman, Marcus, Emma. "I saw everything," Diane said, her voice cold and authoritative. "I've been sitting over there for the past hour. I watched your daughter walk in alone, visibly distressed. I watched her approach this man. I watched him do nothing but offer kindness. He didn't touch her, didn't ask inappropriate questions. He read books to her, gave her crackers, let her sit safely while you," Diane's voice hardened, "continued screaming outside." The woman's face went pale. "You don't understand. You don't know what's happening in my life." "I don't," Diane agreed, "but I know what I saw. And what I saw was a man creating safety for a child who desperately needed it. If anyone should be questioned, it's not him." Emma suddenly moved. She ran to Diane, looked up at her with those wide, tear-filled eyes. "You were alone too," Emma whispered. "I saw you, at your table. You looked sad, like me." Diane froze. This child, this small, invisible child, had seen her. "Can you sit with us too?" Emma asked. "Nobody should be alone." And Diane, CEO, billionaire, untouchable fortress of control, shattered completely. She knelt down, right there on the library floor, eye level with Emma. "Yes," she whispered. "I'd like that very much." Emma took Diane's hand, led her back to where Marcus and Ruby were standing. The girl's mother watched, silent now, uncertain. They all sat down, on the floor, in the children's section, together. Emma showed Diane her drawing again, held it out like an offering. "This is a family. Families listen." Diane stared at the picture. 4 stick figures holding hands, smiling, together. "Can I tell you something?" Diane said softly to Emma. "I forgot how to listen for a very long time, but you just reminded me." Emma tilted her head. "Why did you forget?" "Because I was scared," Diane admitted. "Did it work?" Emma asked innocently. "No," Diane whispered. "It didn't. I just became alone." Marcus was watching her, not judgment in his eyes, just recognition, understanding. "I'm Marcus," he said quietly. "This is Ruby." "Diane," she replied. "Diane Foster." Emma's mother finally spoke. Her voice was small, broken. "I didn't know she felt invisible," she said. "I didn't know." Emma looked at her mother. "I'm always invisible, Mommy. You're always yelling. Daddy's always angry. Nobody looks at me. I'm quiet, so you forget I'm there." The woman started crying. "Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." "Families listen," Emma said again, holding up her drawing. "Can we try? Can we try to be a family that listens?" Her mother knelt down, pulling Emma into a hug. "Yes, yes, we'll try, I promise." Marcus stood, helping Ruby up. "We should go, give you space." But Emma grabbed his hand. "Wait, thank you for seeing me, for letting me sit here." Marcus smiled. "Anytime, brave girl. Anytime you need a safe place, you find one. You hear me? You're never invisible." Emma hugged him, then hugged Ruby, then shyly hugged Diane. "You're not invisible either," Emma whispered to Diane. "I saw you." And Diane broke again, completely. Held this small child who'd seen through every wall she'd built. "Thank you," Diane whispered back. "Thank you for seeing me." 3 days later, Diane found Marcus through the library system. She drove to his neighborhood. Small houses. Working class. She knocked. Marcus answered, surprise flickering across his face. "I can't stop thinking about Saturday," Diane said. "About Emma. About you. About what you did." Marcus shook his head. "I didn't do anything special." "You noticed," Diane said. "You stopped. You created safety. I've spent 43 years building empires, and I've never created anything as important as what you created on that library floor." She took a breath. "I want to create something that matters. I have resources, but I don't have what you have. Humanity. I want to create safe spaces. Libraries, parks, community centers, where invisible children can be seen. And I need your help teaching me how." Marcus was quiet. "Why?" "Because Emma was right. I'm alone. I chose power over people, and I'm empty. I want to learn, not from a distance. I'll show up, sit on floors, get uncomfortable, learn to really listen." Marcus nodded slowly. "Okay, but you show up. You don't fix this from an office." Diane smiled. Really smiled. "Deal." 6 months later, the Safe Spaces program launched in 8 libraries across the city. Volunteers trained by Marcus. Comfortable reading areas, quiet corners. Trained adults who knew how to notice the invisible children. Diane was there every Saturday, not as CEO, just as a volunteer. She sat on floors, read books, listened. It wasn't always easy. She still checked her phone too much, still started sentences with solutions instead of questions, still had to remind herself to slow down, to just be present. But slowly, incrementally, she was learning. Emma visited sometimes with her mother. They were in therapy together, healing. The drawing Emma had made hung on the wall of the main library. Marcus brought Ruby every week. They read, they helped, they taught others what presence looked like. One Saturday, Diane was shelving books when she saw her. A small girl, maybe 6, standing alone near the reference desk, twisting her hands nervously, looking lost, invisible. Diane's heart clenched. She started to walk over, then stopped, took a breath, reminded herself, don't fix, don't solve, just be present. She walked over slowly, knelt down. "Hi," she said softly. "Are you okay?" The girl looked at her with wide, scared eyes. "I don't know where my mom is." "We'll find her," Diane said gently. "But first, can I sit here with you for a minute? Would that be okay?" The girl nodded. They sat together on the floor. Diane pulled out a book, started reading. The girl leaned closer, slowly, carefully. Diane stumbled over a word. The girl giggled softly. "You said that wrong." "I did, didn't I?" said Diane, smiling. "Want to help me?" The girl nodded, pointing to the words, and together, imperfectly, they read. Across the library, Marcus watched, smiled, nodded. Diane met his eyes, mouthed, "Thank you." He mouthed back, "You're learning." Not "you're perfect," not "you've arrived." Learning, still trying, still imperfect, still human. And that was enough. And in that moment, Diane understood. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. That the real legacy wasn't buildings or programs, it was moments. Small, quiet moments where someone invisible became seen, where someone alone became found, where someone scared became safe. One child at a time, 1 minute at a time, starting with 4 simple words. "Can I sit here?" The answer was always yes. Sometimes the quietest voices carry the loudest truth, and sometimes all someone needs is permission to be seen. If this story reminded you that presence matters more than power, type in the comments, "Nobody is invisible here." Warning: copyright and content notice. This work is fully original. AI tools support our process but are not used to copy or plagiarize copyrighted material. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to Becca's Stories. Like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional storytelling. Sometimes the quietest voices carry the loudest truth. And sometimes all someone needs is permission to be seen. If this story reminded you that presence matters more than power, type in the comments, "Nobody is invisible here." Copyright and content notice. This work is fully original. AI tools support our process, but are not used to copy or plagiarize copyrighted material. All stories are fictional and not intended to represent real people, groups, or events. Any resemblance is coincidental. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to Becca's Stories. Like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional storytelling.